Hi, welcome to day 4 of Premiere Week. I gotta move stuff over because I'm filming all these intros at one time. So I have projects and yarn just all over the desk, But we're having a good time, right? Are you guys enjoying Premiere Week so far? I am having so much fun with this. Today is a blanket. This blanket right here. I got a lot of requests for this blanket. I made this blanket for personal use, I think in January. Well, not this specific blanket, but this style. I was working with some granny chevron blankets, and one of the things that was irritating people that was making that specific project was that there was, like, at the bottom of the chevron, there was like a weird hole or a gap where the stitches stretched out, and I was like, how can we fix that? And so then it came into my head because I had just made a starburst shaped Jacob's ladder tree skirt, and because of that I was like, I can put a Jacob's ladder in the chevron. So I did that in my blanket, and I made a couple blankets, and oh man, everybody was like, can you please show us how to make that? So that's where this tutorial came from. Now, the yarn used for this is the Premier Serenity Chunky. And I used the Serenity Chunky in the big balls and the small balls mixed with the candy. So Serenity has a new yarn out called Serenity Candy, which is somewhere. It's right here. I just had it. Where'd I put it? It's right here. The Serenity Candy, which is all these fun colors, right? So I knew I wanted to incorporate that into the blanket because A, it's a new yarn, and B, it's super fun. And we know on this channel, I am all about color. I'm all about color and wild, crazy ideas, and I love the way this looks together. I would not have thought to mix like 70s colors like the golds and the what do they call that? That olive green color that appliances used to be. Who would have thought to mix that in with like these beautiful blues and blacks and white? Like, but I did it. It's beautiful, and I fell in love with it. So this is the blanket we're making. The blanket in the tutorial is only 47 by 47. It is a small square toddler-sized blanket. You can make it bigger. So the number of balls of yarn I'm telling you that you need are for the 47 by 47 inch blanket, okay? So you can obviously make it longer and wider, and I do tell you how to make it like bed size, but it's a good size little blanket for, I don't know, short people, little kids, dogs. It's a good length for like a lap blanket where it's just really on your lap. It's not really useful for like a full size. I'm going to cuddle under a blanket because it's not long enough. But, well, it's not long enough for me anyway. But this blanket is really easy. I walk you through how to make the chevrons. I walk you through how to make the Jacob's ladder part. And then let's talk about the yarn. Because the yarn was just, it was so nice to work with. Serenity Chunky is a very soft, squishy, bulky weight yarn. So it works up really fast. Because it's a bulky weight yarn, it makes your project bigger faster, so it works up fast, right? It is also, we learned about the sale on the 3 packs of these big giant balls 2 weeks ago, I think. And so these big giant bags, I think they only have this color left, which I think is raspberry. I think this is the only color that they have left of the 3 bags of the giant balls for $18 on their website. So if you want to make this blanket and you like this color, snatch them up quick because this is a really good deal. Obviously I didn't use this color, I used the bluebird, but I used the equivalent of 4 of these giant balls for that blanket. But each one of these balls is the equivalent of 3 of the smaller balls, which I don't know what I did with the teal ones. There it is. I got everything in a laundry basket at my side so that it's in reach. But I'm filming a whole bunch of videos all at one time, so I'm confusing the heck out of myself. What video am I making right now? So, 3 of these equals 1 of these balls. The yardage is exact, 3 small for 1 large. So if you're gonna make the blanket, you need 4 of the big giant balls. These are also available at Walmart. I think they're $8 a ball. I could be wrong about that. But that's where I had 1 white I used. But the whole blanket is the equivalent of 4 giant balls or 12 small balls, or any combination of those. If you want to mix the small colors, because these are also on sale on Premier's website right now. These are $3, a bag of 3 for $9, or 3 giant balls for $18. So this is still a pretty good deal. But there's way more colors available of the smaller balls. And they also have the tweed ones on sale, which I know I also have those close by too. Let me pause. This just makes my life easier to have everything right here. They also have the tweed on sale, 3 for $9. You could also mix these. They're all the Serenity base. They are all the 100% acrylic, soft, squishy, bulky number 5. They are the exact same yarn base. They're just different colorways and different, you know, designs. So they have the tweedy ones, which have little color speckles on it, 3 for $9 as well on the website. Or they have the solid colors, and a lot of solid colors, 3 for $9. Or they have the brand new, this one got caked up. This is the candy, Serenity Candy, in lots and lots of fun colors. So you can mix and match any of these yarns that you want into the blanket. You can mix big balls and small balls. You can mix solids and the candy. It's all up to you. You can mix in the tweeds. And they are all, I'll give you some specs. So, Premier Serenity Chunky is a bulky weight number 5. The small balls are 109 yards. The big balls are 328 yards. 100% acrylic, machine wash, warm, gentle, cycle, tumble, dry, low. So you throw your blanket in the washer and dryer if you're careful with it, so you don't want to destroy it. Which I've never had a problem. I don't really cook anything in my washer and dryer. Like, I don't put anything on high. I don't cook anything on hot in the washer and dryer. Like, I wash it, cool. I tumble it, cool. You know, I want my things to last. We put a lot of effort into making these beautiful items. You don't want to just throw them in there and melt them to smithereens, you know. This yarn is super, super soft and squishy. It works up really fast. And it makes beautiful, beautiful blankets. And my favorite thing to make with the Serenity Chunky is blankets. Look at those colors. This was so fun to make. So, it's actually upside down, but that's fine. So what I did is I just mixed. I had black, I had white already. I purchased some of the blue. This is actually not the right color. This is the color teal. I mixed the bluebird, this one, in, and then I threw in the daisy colorway of the Serenity Candy. And I used 1 skein of the Serenity Candy. I used almost 3 of the color bluebird. I used, I think, the equivalent of 3 of the black. And then I used a big giant bowl of the white. So that's what I'm saying, is about the equivalent of 4 of the big ones or 12 of the small ones. But because I use big balls and I use small balls together, if you want to do that, just every time you substitute one of these big balls, replace it with 3 of the smallers, and you should have the math correct. So if you wanted to do 2 and 6, or 1 and 9, like, it all works out. It all works out. And you can switch up the colors any way you want. But yeah, this is a nice, warm, squishy blanket. Lots of color. Lots of fun to make. That size blanket took me 2 days, maybe 2.5 days to make, busting my butt trying to get it done. But like, you could have that done in a weekend or a week with no problem. Yeah, a couple hours here, a couple hours there, you have it done in a week. So definitely check out that blanket. And if you make it, please tag me in all the social medias. I really love seeing what you guys make with my tutorials for this week. Also, don't forget, and I haven't said this for the past couple of videos, if you hashtag Make It Premier, Premier Yarns will sometimes feature some of the projects that you make with their yarns. Just say Make It Premier and then put like, hey, I made this with the Serenity Chunky yarn for Premier Week with cinnamon stitches. And sometimes they will, if it's a really nice looking picture, like take your time, put it in the light and take a nice picture. Sometimes they will share on their social medias as well, which I think is a lot of fun. So yeah. Alright guys, stay tuned for the tutorial for the Jacob's Granny Blanket. Alright, so you can, any of the colors you want to use. And while I'm doing different colors for this, you can do this all in one color. You can alternate just 2 different colors. So you could do the teal and the white, the teal and the white, and it would be absolutely beautiful. Whatever you want your blanket to be, that's what it should be. I'm going to start with a slip knot. Alright. Then we're going to chain 111. Alright, now I'm doing a smaller sample of this than you are, so you should have 111 chains. So what we are going to do is we're going to go back 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we are going to put 3 double crochets. And that skipping the 6 stitches counts as a double crochet and a chain 3 under here. Now we are going to skip 1, 2, and in the third we are going to put another granny shell, which is 3 double crochet. And then we're going to skip 2 more stitches, and in the third we're going to put another. But this time we're going to put granny shell, chain 2, granny shell, all in that same stitch. So that is what that should look like so far. This is the double crochet, 3 granny shells going up the peak. Now we're going to start coming down the peak. So that's our first granny shell of the row. Well, of this section, not the row. We're going to skip 2 more. And in the third chain, we're going to put another granny shell. Do that again. Skip 2, and in the third, put a granny shell. Oops. Now the pattern is going to be 3 up, 3 down. Okay. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3 going up, the chain 2 space, 3 going down. Now we're going to chain 6. This is going to be our Jacob's Ladder section. We are going to skip the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in the 6th we're going to put a granny shell. Mr. Cinnamon is in the kitchen cooking. In case you hear banging around or sizzling, that would be him. Now we're going to go back up the hill because that was the bottom of the valley. I know it doesn't look like much right now, but it's the bottom of the valley. Skip 2 more stitches, and in the third, put a granny shell. We're working our way back up the mountain. Let's skip 2 more stitches. And in the third, we're at the top of the mountain, so now we need to put an increase. So we're gonna do granny shell, chain 2, granny shell in the same stitch. Granny shell, chain 2, granny shell. Now we're going back down the mountain. If I can get that starting chain to stop twisting on me. I'm going to skip 2, and in the third, we're going to put a granny shell. And then at the end of this, we have about 6 stitches left. So we're going to skip 2, and in the third, I think I skipped it. I think I didn't count right is what happened. It's fine. We're going to put a granny shell, and that's our third granny shell for the bottom of the row. Now if you're still going to still keep going, if you still have lots of leftover right here, this will be your third granny shell. This is where you're going to put your chain 6 and continue on. Okay, so you're going to do exactly like we did here. You do the chain 6, skip 5, and in the 6 put a granny shell, and then work back up. And you're just going to keep repeating that. But since I'm at the end of my sample row, don't worry, we'll go over this again with the bigger sample. I just wanted to rerun this. And then in the very last stitch, when you get to the end of the row, you're going to put a double crochet in the last stitch. So you should have 3 chains after that last. And then this is where you can cut, tie off, or if you're going to continue in this color, you can just keep going with this color. If you're going to switch colors and you're only using 2 colors, you can just carry your yarn up, and that will be just fine. Every row I'm cutting my colors and adding in a new color because I'm doing so many different colors. Now let's go back to my bigger sample since we got the first row taken care of. Now I already got the black and the white and the teal. Let me figure out what color I want to work in next because I want something pretty. I'm wondering because I have more extra white if I should just put in another white row. And then do color white, color white, color white. I think that will be fun to do. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys. I am using a 9mm or an M hook. This is just a hook I got from, I think, Hobby Lobby. Alright, now, when we add our next color in, we should do it on the row we ended in, right? So when you're starting the new row, we just put in that last one, the last double crochet. Okay. Well, actually, you guys are down here. We put in the double crochet. I messed up here. We're going to pretend that's not there. So if we were working, let me show you, before I confuse myself. If we were working at the end of this row, we would tie this part off, and we're going to add in this other color right in that top of that chain 3, well, the chain 3 in the beginning of the row or the double crochet there. Okay, so we're adding in our next color at the chain 3 that we just created. We're going to slip stitch and chain 3 again. Every row is going to end and begin exactly like this. Let's try this again. Mr. Cinnamon came in to bring me something to eat. He's trying to take care of me. Alright. So we got our chain 3 at the beginning of the row. And every single row is going to be exactly like this row. We're going to skip this section here, and over here in the space between these two, I know it's hard to see because we're working with black, but actually I can do it on your sample, the sample too, because that'll show up a little better. We're going to put a granny shell in that space. One of the things I really love about this Serenity Chunky is how squishy it is and how fast it works up. So we're going to go to the next space and put another granny shell. And then we're up at the peak. So we have 1, 2, this will be our 3rd of the row. We're going to put a increase, which is a granny shell, chain 2, granny shell, or 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Excuse me. And in every chain space, we're going to put a granny shell, with the exception of the chain space, or the 6 chain space. That 6 chain space we're going to ignore, kinda, until the end. So we put our next granny shell in, and just like here, we have our chain 3, our 3 granny shells, chain 2, 3 granny shells. Now it's time to come to the Jacob's Ladder section. And if you look here on this section here, we're going to skip over the 2 granny shells in the middle and the chain 6 section in every row. So chain 6. You're going to skip this granny shell, this chain 6, and this one, and go into this next hole and put a granny shell. And we're just going to keep doing that. That's the whole pattern to the blanket. You're just going to keep repeating that. You're going to have 3 going up. 1, 2, 3. 3 coming down. A chain 6. Okay. And then we're going to have 3 going up. And 3 going down. And a chain 6. And if you have more than 3, you messed up somewhere. You got to go back to the drawing board. I have seen other podcasters really struggle with this chevron, and there's actually quite a few podcasters who have said that they really struggle with the chevron, and I understand, because there's so many different types of chevron patterns, and sometimes like the little tiny minute differences can really like trip you up. Another thing is the regular chevron granny, which I have also done on this channel. There's always like a weird gap here in the area where you're supposed to like skip where the valley is, and I think that's why I really like putting the Jacob's Ladder effect in there, because it closes all of that off. It fixes the gappy problem that I've heard people complain about. I'm going to apologize for my son. He just is loud all the time. So see how we just put a granny shell in each one of those spaces. And then when you get down to the bottom of the hill, skip this one, skip this, and skip this, and put your granny shell over there. Chain 6 first. Over here, granny shell. So when you're at the valley, chain 6. When you're at the peak, do an increase. Granny shell, chain 2, granny shell. Every row. And every row in this entire blanket will begin and end with a double crochet or the equivalent. So you will start every row with a chain 3 and you will end every row with a double crochet. So I'm at the top, so I'm putting an increase. I'm going to work this entire row with you guys, and then I'm going to let you go about your business. And you can do a border on this. I will show you how to do a border when we're all done. So I put a border on there to pull down the peaks at the bottom, specifically where it's curls. Right here, it curls right there. This color is like giving me like Alice in Wonderland vibes. Like the black and white checkered floors and her blue dress. That's not the right color blue, but like those reminded me of. There was a video game. I'm doing a chain 6. I think I'm doing a chain 6. Excuse me. chain 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There was a video game I used to play with the kids, and I want to say it was Kingdom Hearts, but I'm not positive about that. And there was a Alice in Wonderland sequence, like a whole area that you had to beat, and it was really hard, but the floor was like white and black checkered tile. I kind of like these colors. So we're going to go back up the hill, so we're going to add another granny shell. We're to the peak. So we're going to add a granny shell, chain 2, granny shell. I literally have been trying to film this tutorial since 9 o'clock this morning. It's 3 in the afternoon. I've had so many issues, and I think it's my brain from not feeling well. I've had camera issues. I have had... My voice wasn't working at all earlier, so I'm like... I finally feel like I can talk semi-normal. I mean, I look a hot mess, but it's all good. I think you guys have this already. This is an easy pattern. Once you know how to do it, it's so easy. Just keep in mind, keep counting. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Chain 6, chain 2. Okay. Now we're back down here, so we're going to do a chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I have worked this pattern up in a 4-weight and a 5-weight, and I like it better in the fluffy blanket. I like the way the chevrons look. I also like that the blanket is a little bit bigger, because when I worked this in a 4-weight, the blanket was tiny. Now I could have doubled. I could have doubled the starting chain, the 111. So you would take, if you want this to be a bigger blanket, just take 111, and then take away 6. And the reason you take away 6 is because doubling 111 will actually give you 12 extra stitches on the end, and you only need 6. So take 111, times it by 2, and subtract 6. Let me do the math, because my brain is not going to do that equation right now. And I know you guys are laughing at me. 111 times 2 minus 6. So if you want a bigger blanket, starting chain of 216. Okay, and you'll have a bigger blanket. That's like king size though, I think. Or at least queen size at the very least. This size works really good. If you've watched my channel before today, you will know that I have a very large body. I'm a big old fat girl, and I got no shame in that. I like a lap gan or a lap blanket to be big enough to wrap around all sides of my body, and with the border, this will do that. Alright, we're to the chain 6 part. Skip over those pieces. Keep on putting those granny shells in those spaces. And when you get to the top, make it increase. 3 double crochet. Chain 2, 3 double crochet. We made it through a whole row. Actually, I messed up. Like I said earlier in this video, I messed up. Excuse me. The beginning chain of this, my count was off, so I don't quite have 111. So I have like a whole section of the peak where I'm missing that in my blanket, but that's fine, because I just kept going. Alright, we're almost to the end of the blanket. Put our last double or granny shell in. So see how we have 1, 2, 3 granny shells there. We're going to go into that double crochet here and put a double crochet. And then the next row, you're going to start with the chain 3. I'll show you how to start the next row, just so you know. You can change color here or not. Chain 3, turn. Now you're going to work a granny shell here, and here, and then increase here, and continue that pattern until the blanket is as long as you want it to be. Now, let me measure how wide this is for me. Yours is going to be different because remember I messed up the numbers in the beginning. So for me right now, before I put the Jacob's ladder in, because that is going to make it a little bit smaller too. When you tie the Jacob's ladder part in, it's going to make it a little bit smaller, so keep that in mind. Right now, I am at about, oh come on, stop falling off the desk, 42 inches. I'm going to probably lose 5 inches when we do the Jacob's ladder. So it's going to be, this can be like baby size or like small Afghan size. So like I said, if you want it bigger than that, just double the numbers. You'll have a plenty big enough blanket. Or if you just want a Afghan, go with this number. Because you see how this is all like open up here, but when you come in and you do the Jacob's ladder, which we don't do, I don't do that till the end of the blanket. Because that's like, it's like I'm working up towards that, and it's like my reward that I get to play with a yarn like this. See, that takes off. That takes off about just under an inch. It brings the blanket in. That's what that's going to look like. When we're going to do that for every one of these chain 6 sections. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. I love doing that. See? Isn't that cute? I just really like that. Alright guys, keep doing these rows till you have enough rows that you feel like your blanket's long enough, honestly. I have no idea how long I'm going to go with this blanket. I'm just going to go till I feel like quitting. And then we'll be back, and I will show you guys how to do a border on this if you choose to do a border. We'll talk more about putting the Jacob's ladder together at the end of the blanket. And, well, you're going to have to do a border row anyway at the top to seal in the Jacob's ladder. But yeah, I'll be back probably tomorrow, and we'll finish this tutorial. But it'll be like a second for you guys. Alright, we are back. And once again, I apologize for the state of my voice in this video. I have all of the things on my desk for this blanket. So we got most of the stuff around. We gotta make room. So I have my tea, which I should probably take a drink of. That's hot. Alright, so right now I'm stopping the blanket. I have made this 47 inches squared. So it's 47 by 47. Alright. Now, the amount of yarn that we used for this is the equivalent of, and we haven't put the border on yet, almost the equivalent of 3 of these big balls. But I'm using different colors. So I used almost an entire one of the chunky big, these big giant balls. I have used almost 3 of this size in this color. I have used 3 in the black. And I have used 1 and slightly more than 1 of the Serenity Chunky Candy. So the math I did basically equates to about 3 of these balls. If you're going to put a border on, or if you're going to make the blanket any bigger than this, you're obviously going to need at least 1 more of these. I'm going to show you guys how to do the border. If I can get the dogs to stop opening the door. Alright, we're going to move all of this because we're going to try to do the border in white. No promises that I have enough left over, but like it'll be fine. Put that all in that bucket up there so it's out of the way. Alright, now, what we need to do before we get to crocheting on the border is we need to close up the Jacob's ladder. As you can tell, I had to change color mid-Jacob's ladder there, but it'll be fine. I can weave that in later. So you want to start at the bottom of your blanket. The very bottom where we started. And like I said, this blanket has mess-ups in it. This was not this was me I messed up a bunch at the beginning of this blanket. At the beginning of this tutorial, I had to keep refilming. So yeah, there was issues. So to me, on mine, I don't have, you guys should have 6 chains here. I only have 3 because I kept messing up, but it's fine. It will still work out. That's what I say is, like, I don't take these patterns seriously. I don't take anything that I do artistically seriously enough to scrap the whole project because I'm struggling with it a little bit. I just keep pushing forward until I understand or I can fix it. And sometimes I just fudge it and we move along, and that's what happens. Alright, so that very first chain, you are going to twist that one. And the reason we're going to twist is because you have a bigger opening here than I do. And we want these two to touch. So we're going to twist that. Let's see how we just flipped it over like that. We're going to stick our crochet hook in there. We're going to take the very next loop and pull it through. And you're just going to keep doing that. It's like you're chaining all the way up to the top of the blanket. And you're just going to keep doing that over and over again until all of these are done. And this is my favorite part of the whole blanket. Like, I love doing this process. To me, this is just, it's enjoyable. It's relaxing. I can just hang out and chain stuff. See? And that's what it should look like. And this will all stretch out and ease up a little bit. So it might want to pucker a little bit at first, but don't worry about it. It will stretch out. So we're going to do this all the way to the top. Oops. I only grabbed part of that chain. And what I like about this is it carries the color from the previous row up a row. So it brings the blue up in between the black. It brings the black up between the blue up between the white, and so on and so forth. That's one of the draws for me for doing this multicolor in so many different colors, because I think it is just really fascinating to look at. And then while I was making it, I got like this whole Alice in Wonderland vibes, because I wasn't going to add the candy in, the Serenity candy, but I was looking at this bottom part and I was like, okay, the teal, the white, and the black were giving me out. They were giving me Alice in Wonderland vibes. And then when I added in this colorway specifically of the candy, it was totally giving me like Mad Hatter. So this is my Alice in Wonderland blanket, and it's inspired by Alice in Wonderland. With the crazy zigzag paths and everything, it just is giving me Alice in Wonderland vibes all the way around. And yes, I have to weave those in later. And around here is when I ran out and switched to a different color of the candy, just to finish this row off, but you can't really tell because it's still within the same colors. It just has blue instead of the purple. Alright, now I'm at the top of my row, and what I'm going to do is just, and actually this stitch marker ain't gonna do nothing. I don't know why I'm putting it in there, but you can do that to kind of hold it in place. You can pin it to the side if you need to. Actually, I'm not gonna put a stitch marker. It's not gonna help. That stitch marker is gonna pop right back to that hole. Just give it a nice tug, because what we're gonna do is when we put the border on, we're gonna crochet this. We're gonna crochet along the edge and crochet into that, and it will permanently lock it into place, so you don't have to worry about that. You could also start the border right now, like do this, do part of the border, then do this and lock it in, and then move on. And actually, I think we're gonna do that. It'll just make our lives easier. So I'm gonna do my border. I think ultimately I'm gonna do 3 layers of the border. You can do as many layers as you want. I'm gonna start the first layer as double crochets, but because I'm running low on that white, I think what I'm gonna do is a layer, like a border row of double crochets, and then I would really like to work in the second ball of Candy Shop. So I think I'm going to do a single crochet and then another double crochet of maybe the black, because I want to use up all the black. So I'm just going to show you the first row. You guys can figure out the subsequent other rows. It's not that difficult. And I'm not going to show you the whole border. I'm just going to show you part of it. Because the top and the bottom, even though they look differently, it's the same idea. Oh, dang, I dipped it right in my tea. That's kind of gross. So, we're going to crochet, just straight crochet up. But when you get to the peak, we're going to put a peak in. And then when you get to the valley, we're going to put a decrease in. Once I can absorb the tea out of this yarn that I just dipped. There, I think we're good. Alright, so we're going to slip stitch. And since this is the top row, it's going to be really easy to determine where our stitches are supposed to go. So we're going to start the stitch at the top of the chain 3 like we have every other row. And we're still going to chain 3. And that's the part with the T on it, in case you were curious. And then in all the stitches, you're going to put a double crochet. Just that simple. So across the top of the granny stitch, now my finger's sticky, we are going to just we're going to double crochet and create a solid border by crocheting a double crochet in every stitch. And actually, let me zoom you guys in so you're a lot closer. I moved the camera up higher so you can see more of the blanket. So in every stitch, we're going to put a double crochet until we get to the peak. Alright, now we're at the peak. I hate when you get to the center of a big ball and they start to collapse on themselves because they've been moved around too much. Because I don't ever sit in one place. I'm constantly on the go. Alright, so we're at the peak. So in this peak, we're going to put 5 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Still gives us the peak going up and around. And the dogs won't stop coming into my room. And then continue back down the side by putting a double crochet in every stitch on the way down. And then when we get towards the valley, we have to do a decrease because that's the valley. And as you can tell, my last little chain popped out, but that's fine. It's not like knitting, it's not going to just keep on pulling the whole way down. Alright, now, blanket is too heavy, it's sliding off the desk. When you get down towards, and I know it's hard to tell because this is black, this is the last granny shell before the chain 6. So what we're going to do is we are going to, in the center of that, we're going to put double crochets all the way up until the last stitch. That's the 3rd stitch of the granny shell. So this is the first one, that's the second, this is the 3rd. Okay. And then we are going to only put a half of a double crochet. Okay, I'll show you again. Yarn over, go into that stitch, pull up a loop, and pull off 2, and you should have 2 left on your hook. Now, if we get this chain to stay in, we are going to just slip stitch, kinda, pull up a loop through that one. So now you have 3 loops. You see how I did that? And then we're going to go to this side, and we're going to finish up, we're going to do a double crochet. Well, no we're not. This is going to be kind of like doing 2 double crochets together with a slip stitch in the center. Okay? So then you're going to go, you're going to yarn over, you still got 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over that, wrap your hook, go in, pull up a loop, pull off 2, You should have 4 loops on your hook, and pull through all 4. So that gives us a decrease here. So we're double crocheting the 2. We're double crocheting 2 together with a slip stitch in the center of it. And then we're just going to go back up the mountain, double crocheting our way to the top. Do you guys remember The Price is Right? The little mountaineer guy going up the side of the mountain, and you had to stop him before he fell over. That totally just came into my head. Alright, we're at the top of the mountain, so we're going to put an increase. We're going to put 5 double crochet. And go back down the mountain, stopping just before that last double crochet. Make sure when you're doing the increase or the decrease, make sure you're pulling back so that you can see the 3 double crochets there. Otherwise your peaks are gonna like tilt to the side, because part of the granny shell will hide underneath the increase. You gotta make sure for every granny shell you have 3 double crochets, because either it's gonna tilt to the side at the top, or you're gonna have where it wants to curl because you didn't have enough stitches. And also keep these border rows loosey-goosey. You don't want to crochet tight, because if you crochet tight with these peaks and valleys, you could get curling. Okay, I stopped right before that last double crochet and the chain 6. I'm gonna pull up a loop. You go to the bottom of the blanket and do our little Jacob's ladder thing. I'll zoom you guys back out. Don't forget to twist that first one. Just twist it. Stick your hook in and chain it up. Now I have made, this is like my 5th blanket of this kind, which is crazy to me that I've made 5 of these now, and I still struggled so hard at the beginning of this. And I messed up a couple of times. That's just how crochet and all arts are anyway. Like sometimes you struggle, sometimes you have a hard time getting it, even though you've made a bunch of them. And make sure, like, pull that every once in a while. Make sure you got all your loops so you don't have any hiding in the back. I really, really like the pop of color from the candy, the Serenity candy. I just think that is so fun. It adds so much to the blanket. And what I really love is these are all the same base. They're all the Serenity base. They're all that luscious squishiness. Alright, we are almost to the top. Give that a little tug. Make sure that all your stitches are in place. And then we're going to come back in and finish by doing the half of a double crochet here. The slip stitch there. Half of a double crochet here, and then crochet them all together. And that's what it should look like. Now you're just going to keep doing this, and then when you get around the side of the blanket, for every double crochet on the end of that row, you can put 3 double crochets. If you find that there's too many stitches and it's wanting to wave, do 2 double crochets in each granny, or each double crochet. I'll show you that when we get over there to the peak. So I'm going to do 5 double crochets. See if I can take a drink of my tea yet. Oh, much better. Definitely better. Crochet down the hill. And really, if you want to quit at this top row and you don't want to add a border anywhere else, you don't have to. Oh, I went too far. Stopping right before that last double crochet, before the chain 6. You can just finish at this top row if that's what you want. Perfectly fine. Going back down to the bottom, twist, give it a twist. And you're only twisting that bottom one, you're not twisting any other ones. I hear my own voice coming from the other room. Somebody must have turned on one of my videos. That's kind of weird. I wonder if Mr. Cinnamon is watching me, or if one of the dogs accidentally turned on a video. It's kind of funny. So if you hear my voice twice, that's the TV. And yes, Mr. Cinnamon does occasionally watch my videos. He doesn't do it all the time, but like if I'm covering a new subject, or if he's like curious what I'm saying, if he finds the subject interesting, or if he knows I mentioned him, he'll watch it, see what I said. Alright. Back to the top. Oh, I almost got my voice back for a minute. That tea is working. Alright. Now we're going to go back, because we're doing the decrease. We're going to do the first half of the double crochet, slip stitch, set another first half of a double crochet, and then close them all off. Alright, I don't think you guys need to see me do the rest of this blanket, so I'm going to pause here and I'll be back. Alright, so we are back. We got all of our loops done up, and I have determined I do not have enough white to go all the way around the blanket, so it'll be fine. I think I'm going to run another row of white on the bottom and then figure out what I want to do along the sides. This is why I like crochet. I like art. I like the idea of the knitter crochets, because you can change it as your needs meet. I don't need to go to the store and buy another whole ball of that just to finish the border. I can do the white on the top and the bottom, and I have enough of the blue to do some sides, or like whatever I want, however I want to change it up. I have black too. I can do black along the sides. I can do it. I can change it up. Alright, so anyway, it's fine. This is what we have. I think this is so beautiful. We've got the beautiful Jacob's ladder, the beautiful deep chevrons. Now, if you're going to work up the side, I'm going to show you, because I didn't quite finish this row. I wanted to come on and show you guys. I'll zoom you guys back in so we can get a real good look at what's happening. So when we get back to the end of the row, this is obviously where I end the row because that's where I cut off the yarn. We're going to go all the way down. And if you're just going to end the blanket here, that's fine. You can end the blanket here. This last chain 3 of the last row, I'm going to come in and put a double crochet in that. Now you can end it here and cut it off and the blanket is fine, or you can do like I'm going to do, cut it and then go to the bottom of the blanket and add a row there. But if you want to work along the sides too with the same color, just put 3 double crochets in that last stitch. Just 3. That will give us a turning chain to go around the corner and another, so that it will take us up and around the corner so we can work that way. And then in every one of these double crochets that we did, or chain 3s that we did for the entire blanket, you're just going to put 3 double crochets around that post. And if it begins to wave on you because maybe you're crocheting loose or something, just put 2 double crochets on each one of those posts. Or alternate 3, 2, 3, 2. Now for me, because I'm probably going to come in with the black and go along the side, I'm going to just crochet over the top of my ends and pretend like, because I hate weaving ends in, and because this is a blanket just for me, it's not going to matter. So I'm just going to crochet over the top of these. If you're giving this as a gift for someone, or entering it in the fair, or doing it for another purpose to sell or something, you want to weave those in. But because I'm making this just for myself, I'm just going to crochet right over the top of them. Alright, but like I said, I don't have enough white left over to do all that, so I'm going to, this is, oh, I already put one there. Alright, where's my scissors? I am going to actually cut and join to the bottom so that the top and the bottom are symmetrical. Like I said, this is a baby blanket size. You can make this as big as you want. So mine is 47 inches. It's a square. It's good for like laps or wheelchairs. Or actually, I think this might be a little bit too big for wheelchairs. We're going to treat the bottom exactly like we treated the top. However, a lot of times in these blankets, the points want to curl. So we're going to take extra care of those. And we're going to pretend that I put a chain 3 on the end, because I did not in this first row. I messed up, like I said. So I'm going to add an extra stitch in. Now because we're working on the bottom of the granny shells, we're working in the hole, the one singular chain that we did for the granny shell. Because remember, we skipped chains and all that. So what we're going to do in each one of these bottoms of the granny shells is we're going to put in 3 double crochet in each one of those holes. And the reason we're going to do that is because these, the chain, the initial chain of that bottom row is being pulled tight. And instead of having to pull that apart and figure out where you need to go, we're just going to treat each granny shell, each little hole, we're going to put a granny shell in it. So we're going to kind of reverse the pattern. Okay. And where we have the peak going up, this is going to be a valley now. So what we need to do is skip over that one entirely and go to the next and put in a granny shell. So wherever that peak was is now going to be a valley, and we're going to skip over it. See how we created a valley there? See? So if we flip that around, that's actually the peak. That's where we put the 2 double crochet, the double crochet chain 2 double crochet. We're going to skip that entire section there and go over to that next one. That will create our valley. And then, when we get over here, what the heck happened? I split the yarn. Now, where we got the Jacob's ladder, that's going to be our peak. That's going to be our increase. So instead of crocheting in the bottom of the 2 granny shells here, up here, we are going to put 7 double crochets. 7. 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I know we only did 5 on the other side, but we're going to do 7 here because we need to accentuate that peak. Okay. I'm going to skip that granny shell, go to this one and put a granny shell. I'm going to skip over the valley here, put a granny shell over here. And I know it's confusing because we have 1 granny shell in between the peak and the valley. And I know it seems confusing, but it's because there's less stitches down here to contend with. That's why we put 7 up here at the peak. And it's time for a peak, so we're going to put 7. Let's see how that's laying. So it's going to be slightly different than the top, but what this is doing is it's pulling the stitches up because you see how this is wanting to curl under. It's not wanting to lay flat at all. That just pulls it up so that it lays flat there. Then we're going to go to this granny shell and put a granny shell. Skip the valley. See, everything's wanting to lay flat now. We're up at the peak, so we're going to put 7 double crochets. We're going to skip this and go over to this one and put a granny shell. When I first learned this granny chevron pattern, the pattern I learned off of had it was a lot different than this. They had you put tassels on the end to hide the fact that it was curling, and I don't like hiding stuff. Like if there's a flaw in the pattern, let's try and fix it, you know. Even if you got to come back. We're skipping the valley and we're going to this one. Even if you got to come back and like re-engineer it a little bit, like find a way to fix that. And the 2 solutions that I had to fix that problem was if you start with a foundationless single crochet row, it helps reduce the curl. And then if you add this bottom border row. Alright, we're at the bottom of the Jacob's ladder, so we're going to put an increase of 7. Double crochet. Juju must be up. She's got COVID too. I hear Dreamlight Valley playing in the other room. Tea's getting cold already. Alright, we're going to skip this and go into this one and put a granny stitch. A granny shell. Skip the valley, go to the next one. Now, of course, you can add as many variations of color and border that you want with this. I encourage that. Play with it. Make it your own. We're at the Jacob's Ladder section, so we're going to do our 7 double crochet increase. Got a tangle happening. Alright, I am almost done with this bottom section. Skip the valley. Like I said, I messed up in this one, so I'm going to add an extra double crochet somewhere. And there we have it. That is the bottom of the blanket. Just give it a nice little tug so it lays flat. There we have it. And then you can keep on adding as many rows of the border as you want. And I'm definitely going to come along the sides, I think, with the black and just crochet over that. And there we have it. There is our Jacob's Granny Blanket. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope that you will show me yours if you've made one. I love seeing variations in my patterns. I love seeing people get creative with their work. And so if you want to share your Jacob's Granny Blanket with me anywhere, you can hashtag Cinnamon Stitches. You can @ Cinnamon Stitches, and I will see those posts. You can do it on Instagram. You can post it in the Facebook group. You can, if you're a YouTuber, you can make a video about it and post it on your YouTube. Just so that I see it. Just tag me in the video so I can see it. And if you hashtag Make It Premier Yarns will see it, and also @ Premier Yarns, and they will see it. All right, guys, thanks for watching.